You are listening to an Able Original. Edgar the Danceman. Chapter 2. The Danceman's Road Rage. Buster, Olivia's dog, was a big, dopey bulldog. He was the perfect pet, really, because, just like me, if he ever heard any music, then he just couldn't control himself. He'd bark and bark and bark until it was turned off. There was no music today. Still, he was barking to the street sounds. Olivia's flat was always as quiet as mine. That's why it had been so much easier for me to keep my secret from her than anyone else in my life. I was waiting in Olivia's front room, with Buster slobbering on my lap, waiting for her friend to arrive. He was a traffic controller and had already said that as long as I was up for it, there would definitely be a job for me. And obviously, I was very up for it. It sounded perfect. It was outdoors, it was easy, and best of all, there wasn't going to be any music around. I really didn't see how it could go wrong. But then, I'd been wrong in the past. Just last week, in fact. And so, I was still feeling a bit nervous. Olivia could tell and made me a cup of tea to calm down.
Don't worry, he's really nice and he loves his job. Just relax.
When he arrived, I saw straight away that Olivia was totally right. Ted was his name, and he was a big, jolly-looking man. He bundled through the door and shook my hand harder than it had ever been shaken before.
"You'll fit right in. You're tall, you're friendly, and you look intelligent enough. But here I am getting ahead of myself. You probably have loads of questions for me."
Just one. How was I going to say this? I wasn't quite sure how to ask it. Ted was smiling at me, and Olivia was waiting with a hopeful look on her face. "Will there be music?" They both looked confused.
"Music? Do you want to listen to music while you direct traffic?"
No, not at all. What I meant was, will there be a lot of loud noise?
Oh, there's no reason to worry about that. Just the sounds of traffic, and that's all there is. We don't even play music in the office, because after a long day of listening to cars go by, all we really want is some peace and quiet. Would that be okay?
I looked at Olivia, a wide smile spreading over my face. That sounds absolutely perfect. When Ted left, waving a cheerful goodbye and saying that he would see me tomorrow, Olivia closed the door and turned around to me. Jumping towards me with joy, she wrapped her arms around me and squealed with excitement.
A brand new job. Well done, Edgar. We should raise a glass.
I hugged her back, feeling happier than I had in a long, long time. Things were finally looking up.
It's a perfect day for it. You're lucky. My first day was in 3 foot of snow. Still, I wouldn't trade jobs with anyone in the world.
The sun was shining and the sky was bright blue. It really was the perfect day. Thank you again, Ted, for all your help. I can't wait to get started.
No problem at all. You should thank Olivia, really. She said so many good things about you that I couldn't say no. Here, put this on and we'll get going.
He handed me a bright yellow vest and a hard hat, and I followed him out to the van. As we made our way towards the city centre, he told me that for my first day, I'd just be by his side to see how it was done. Then, if everything seemed okay, I could start doing it myself tomorrow. Ted was so warm and so welcoming, and best of all, He talked so much that he didn't even want to put the radio on. When we arrived, I realized that I hadn't even thought about dancing since I'd woken up. I was so happy I wanted to, well, not dance, but I did want to sing. What I actually did, however, was standing perfectly still, holding my arms up every now and then to direct traffic. It was complicated at times, deciding which cars should go and which should stop, and hoping that the drivers would pay attention to me and do what they were told. But with Ted by my side, it felt like nothing could go wrong. We were stationed in the center of a busy road, with vehicles coming from all different directions. But Ted had been right when he said that there was no loud noises and no music. There was just the rumble of traffic, which wasn't enough to set off my dancing. The first few hours went by so quickly that I didn't even realize it was lunch until Ted told me it was time for our break. When we sat down to eat, I was beaming. Having fun? I wanted to tell him how happy I was that I'd been standing still for so long, without throwing my arms and legs around in front of everybody. I sure am. Do you think I'd be ready to do it myself tomorrow? I don't see why not. I'd even say you're ready now. He took a big bite of his sandwich and patted me on the back. After that first day, things just started getting better. I went to bed feeling satisfied, and I woke up feeling excited. I drove to my quiet office and spent the day listening to traffic, moving my arms around without wanting to dance, and then came home. I loved my job, but I still loved coming home the most. In fact, this was my favorite time of day. Not because the workday was over, but because I'd started spending more and more time with Olivia and Buster. She'd knocked on my door each night in the first few days, to see how it was all going and to check that Ted wasn't working me too hard. Then it started to become a habit, and every day after work I would pay her a visit and we would have a cup of tea. During the second week, we took turns making dinner for each other, and then, on the third week, I made my world-famous cocktails, and we watched a movie. Everything was perfect, and because there was no danger of any surprise music at her place or mine, I was enjoying my time with Olivia more than ever. It might have even been more than that. I was kind of starting to, well, maybe like her. Like her. I didn't even mind Buster drooling on me anymore. That's how serious it was. One day, just as I was leaving work to head to Olivia's, Ted was waving goodbye, and as he did so, he said, "Say hello to your girlfriend for me." My what? You mean? I mean Olivia, he said. Oh, sorry, I thought you two were, Well, we're just good friends, I said, chuckling, as I said goodbye. But then I started to think. I did really like Olivia, and we were spending a lot of time together. Maybe it would be nice if she was my girlfriend. When the idea hit me, it felt like something I should have done a long time ago. But now was as good a time as ever. I ran so fast that when I got to her door on the first floor, I was out of breath.
What is it? What's wrong?
I still couldn't speak, but I was desperate to get my question out. I gulped down a glass of water and patted Buster on the head. Olivia, I was wondering if you maybe sometime wanted to go on a date. Slowly, I looked up at her, suddenly feeling very embarrassed. But when I met her gaze, I saw that she was smiling wider than I'd ever seen before.
7 tomorrow night. You can choose where we go.
I could hardly sleep that night. I was so excited. A date! A date with Olivia! I hadn't been on a date in ages, maybe even years. And I hardly knew what I was supposed to do anymore. And then, all of a sudden, I sat upright in bed and my eyes opened wide. Oh no! Oh no, 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 no! How was I going to take her on a date that doesn't involve any music? Was that even possible? I took some deep breaths and calmed myself down. Of course it was possible. This was going to take some effort, but after everything I'd been through, it was going to be worth it. When morning came, I woke up early and got to work. Not work, I mean, but the work to find the perfect place for a date. It took me an hour, but just before I had to set off to work, I had booked a restaurant that didn't play music, bought tickets for a film that said it was all talking, no music, and found a route home that took us down a beautiful canal, all lit up with lanterns. Perfectly silent. It was going to be perfect. My workday went quickly and was just as enjoyable as it had been for the past few weeks. The traffic moved slowly and silently, and there wasn't a single thing that had stopped me from smiling. I told Ted that I had asked Olivia on a date, and the news quickly spread around the office. Before the day was even over, my boss called me into his office.
You can leave early today, Edgar. And not just because you've been doing such a great job. Have a good evening, Edgar.
He winked. So off I went, my heart beating even faster than the day before. I had a spring in my step and, sure, I'll say it, music in my heart. I headed home, making sure that I passed by Olivia's door without her knowing that I was there, had a shower, had a shave, and then I was ready to go. I put on my best shirt, tiptoed downstairs, and before I knew what I was doing, I pushed the doorbell. Oh dear, I should have known better than that. First my toe started tapping, then my head bobbed. Then both at the same time until soon I was dancing so much that I was banging into the walls. What if Olivia opened the door? I had to stop. There wasn't much time. And then the doorbell stopped. My hips stopped swaying and the door swung open. There she was, in a long red dress, looking at me with her big eyes and wide smile.
Ready to go?
Just as promised, the only sound in the restaurant was chit-chat. A piano in the corner made me a little nervous before I saw a sign on it saying, "Please don't play." The movie was fine too, except for a moment in the toilets when they played some instrumental music and I found myself dancing around the sinks. But thankfully, Olivia wasn't there to see that. As we walked home down the canal, hand in hand, there was a warm breeze in the air as we talked to each other about our lives. She has a brother, was a teacher, and had always wanted to have a house full of dogs. I told her everything about myself too. Well, everything except the dancing, of course. When we got to our block of flats, I walked her to a door and we both stood awkwardly on the front step. This was really... I had a lot of... you know. I'd love to do this again if you... Olivia just smiled, put her finger to my lips, leaned forward, and she kissed me on the cheek.
See you tomorrow.
I didn't stop smiling until I fell asleep. I was still smiling when I walked into work the next day, but when I saw the looks on everyone's faces, I stopped. They all looked serious and were looking over pages of reports.
Well, someone is looking happy today. I bet you had a good night out.
Yeah, definitely. But what is going on here?
Oh, it's a big day today. There's a parade in town that we have to work the traffic for. Loads of floats, loads of lorries. But hey, at least there'll be a party too. Food, games, and, the best part, music.
Music? I instantly felt my body becoming very, very sweaty.